and something.
It's been all right. So I
been,
got so everything is
been,
live now, and the intro,
yep. So we're just talking.
the disclaimer.
Hmm.
Gotta have a
All right.
disclaimer as always.
Oh,
You
you
know
got
how it
the you got the
is.
professional setup. I want to be like you when I grow up.
We're trying, man. We're trying, man.
Yeah.
So so on Friday, I went to go. This is actually going to make you laugh, John. So I was supposed to get my DD-214 on Friday, right? And Dre, the DD-214 is like the piece of paper you get that officially means you're out of the military, you're out of service, you're done with service, basically.
Hmm.
On Tuesday and Wednesday, John, when I was running around post doing the scavenger hunt, getting signatures and everything, I asked several different people, multiple different people in multiple different departments in this one building we call the Soldier Center, Fort Carson. I was like, hey, do I have everything? Like, I final out on Friday. Do I have everything? And every single one of them, like to a T, every single one of them was like, yes, you have everything. Like they check my documents. Like, yes, you've got everything. Just come in here on Friday about 7:30, and they'll probably front load you and they'll get you out of here. You get your GD-214. I get to the it's called transitions. I go to transitions in the Soldier Center on Friday morning at 7:30, and the lady's like, where's your unit clearing paper? And I was like, I don't have a unit clearing paper. I'm doing that on terminal leave because I still need access to my unit, and I'm doing that on terminal leave. She's like, no, you have to have your unit clearing paper. I was like, where does it say that on here? I was like, lady, look at this paper that your people gave me. I was like, I asked them over here. I asked the dude in your department right here. I asked finance. I asked Deers. Where does it say that I need my unit clearing paper anywhere on here? Well, I understand that, sir, but Robble, like, we're not going to be able to give it to you today. I was like, okay, cool. I'll just fucking do it on terminal leave then. I don't need your fucking goddamn DD-214 today then. Fucking, like, it literally, like, the shit that they gave me literally states nowhere that you need to clear your unit before you clear fucking post.
And you get your
Like, now, anybody that's been in the military, they're going to laugh at me when I say that because they're going to be like, well, of course you're going to clear your unit before you clear post. I say not necessarily. My unit, I'm attached to the National Guard. So on paper, I am 4th Infantry Division headquarters and headquarters battalion, which is basically just like an overarching unit. Basically, they don't have anything to do with me. I'm literally attached to a guard unit at the academy, at the NCO Academy at Fort Carson. So I'm not clearing my unit until I'm closer to my actual ETS date, like the actual like official get out date. Like I'm officially not part of the army anymore. So they didn't give me my fucking DD-214, and I was like, all right, you know what? I'm going to Kansas City. Fuck off. Like I don't need this right now. You can keep my
you
DD-214 for a
know
couple of weeks. When I get back, I'll fucking chew somebody's ass. I'll chew somebody's ass when I get fucking back because it literally stated nowhere. I had everything except the goddamn unit clearing papers. So there's my bitch of the day. But I am I'm about out of the army, John. I'm done, dude. I'm
no
on
well,
terminal leave right
well
there.
well that's good. Well, remember this is DD-214 gaming, so you need that DD-214 to still work here, Jay. We're just gonna put that
I'm
out there right now.
I'm tracking. John. I'm tracking. Thank you. I
Yep.
was so excited to get it, and then they denied me, and I got pissed off as I usually do. I get really mad about stuff,
Oh
and
man.
my beautiful girlfriend was like holding me back and shit, so I didn't look soft in front of everybody, So
Yeah, and
in
ladies
celebration of getting out of the army, I'm gonna drink this. I'm gonna be sipping on this today. Got some shitty
and
ass hotel fucking champagne. I don't even know what it is, but
yep.
I'm trash
And
drinking
ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming to another week
it.
of the world's only military and gaming podcast. Today, on another episode, we have the one, the only Dre41 with us today.
Hey, what's going on? What's going on, guys? How y'all doing?
It's a pleasure to have you, brother. It's a
You know,
pleasure to have you.
we got
Thank you
Pleasure to
very
be on.
we got a couple people saying what's up. Kobalus, what's going on, man? Congratulations, Jay, and welcome to the veteran side. Um, you did have a really good speech. I'm actually going to post that if I have permission sometime today.
Of course you do.
All right,
Of course.
cool. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we want to introduce you to Dre41. If you want to take a moment to introduce yourself, man, take the stage.
All right. Well, originally, man, just a content creator for mostly wrestling games. Honestly has a creation suite to it. So, um, mostly WWE games. I also did a lot of creations for UFC games, which I enjoy a lot of. NBA, and also way back in the day, the NCAA football games where you can like create the jerseys and change up the logos on there. That's also something I was really interested in. But a lot of that, logo work for not only just games, but for musicians. I've done album covers. I've done company logos, a lot of stuff that I don't really promote too much of on social media, mainly just because I'm always busy. But yeah, man, just that, doing YouTube, just enjoying life,
Absolutely.
So,
We have a comment here from Kobalus. Hey, I got like every car you created.
I
And
made too many. You flood the market, someone has to get it.
yeah, and for those who don't know what the word CAW stands for, CAW is create a wrestler.
Yep.
In other games, it's like create a player cap. But wrestling's got to be unique as always.
Mm-hmm.
Couple
Dre,
things.
Dre, I had a question. Tell me a little bit more about I guess maybe the art side about it. Like, what got you into, like, as you kind of transition into like the video game industry? Like, obviously it started with the art. So what got you into that, or how young were you, or how old were you when you realized you had this I guess talent, and you, please.
That's the first time anyone ever asked me that question.
Really?
Yeah,
I'm
that no
disappointed.
one has ever asked me that.
I'm disappointed in every single person that's ever interviewed you before then. Like,
That's a great question, actually.
Stricken it
So
out the bottle.
I remember it like it was yesterday. I was single digits, probably 6, maybe
okay.
5 or 6 years old. I was in the house. I was bored as hell. I told my mother, "Mom, I'm bored. I don't know what to do." She was like, "Draw a picture." I don't know how to draw. So she, sat down with me and made this crude picture of a spaceship with USA on the side, flames. It just looked like a house that was on fire upside down. And it just clicked. And I just got it. I watched her hand movements when she was doing it, and that I just understood it. So I would just watch cartoons during Saturdays and just start drawing what I see on TV. And
Really?
I never had to take no classes for it. It was just something I could just see and I could just copy on paper. So it always amazes me, like, if I never said I was bored that day, would I've ever learned how to draw? You know what I'm saying? And it was just like, I tell it to this day, like, if you were doing something or busy, I would have never learned how to draw that day. And learning that at that young of an age, it just had me intrigued on everything from comic books, cars. I was drawing cars. My uncle used to have a comic book collection, so I would just read through those and just look at the art style and how they drew their characters and action poses and how to make pictures look like they're moving while they're static.
Right.
Then from there, it was just, I was intrigued on everything. So like during summer programs, I would go to an art teacher who would challenge me. He says, "What are you good at?" I said, "Drawing, a little bit of graffiti, but mostly just, drawing. That's what I was good at." He was like, "Good. You're not doing none of that with me. I'm going to have you painting. I'm going to have you airbrushing, and you're going to do abstract art. That's all I'm going to show you." And I was 13 or 14 years old when I started doing that. I sold my first painting when I was 14. I was a freshman in high school. And I went to the art teacher and I was like, "Hey, listen, there's this funeral home who wanted a painting, Footprints in the Sand." So I painted that in her class, and they graded me on it, and I was able to make money. So that was the first time I sold professional work.
That is badass. Now, when you mentioned reading and kind of mimicking comic books, were you into comic books? Did you read comic books?
Yes, absolutely. My
So
favorite ones.
Some of your favorite? Yeah, I was gonna say, who are your favorites then?
Oh,
in comic
X-Men,
books?
the Uncanny X-Men, early '90s. That was my favorite.
Yes.
Like even right now,
You remember
like
that? Remember that Saturday morning cartoon, the X-Men, when they came out with that shit?
Oh yes, absolutely.
They got that shit on Disney Plus right now, right?
Yeah, that's why I got it.
I saw this. That freaked the fuck out, dude. I freaked the fuck out when I saw that was on Disney Plus. I was like, I remember that fucking show. Holy shit!
Listen, I can't wait until they make the X-Men in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. If they had that X-Men theme in that movie, I'm going to break down and cry.
Cry.
It's-
Yeah, exactly.
it's-
I would make you cry.
We've
Exactly.
we've actually gone a couple episodes back. We've actually talked about like fan castings and stuff like that. And I always said like I've always wanted to see like a guy like Zac Efron play Cyclops for some odd reason, or even have like Daniel Radcliffe play Wolverine. Like just like really off casting
like-
that
Just
that
like
would
super
work.
weird and would make it work. Yeah, it would make it work. That's like when they were originally getting ready to make the first X-Men movie. They were actually talking, or they were in talks to possibly have Glenn Danzig play Wolverine because of his stature and the way he looks, basically. Now, obviously, it didn't happen. It went to Hugh Jackman. But how interesting would the Marvel Cinematic Universe or the Sony Cinematic Universe of the X-Men be if Danzig had been the original Wolverine, right? Like,
Now, do you think they would have ever made the individual Wolverine movies if he was?
I don't think so. Because he got old. The dude. Don't get me wrong. Danzig is Danzig, and he's a destroyer of worlds, right? But the dude's also human, so he's gotten old. So I think he's in his 60s now, if I'm not mistaken. Like, so he would, like, Hugh Jackman aged a lot more gracefully, obviously, and let's be real. Like, one of the greatest comic book movies of all time, 2017, was called Logan, and that was I saw that movie for the first time on my last deployment, actually, and that movie fucked me up for like 2 weeks. Like 2 weeks straight, that movie fucked me up, dude. Like, it was such a great experience, but it also happened to have comic book characters in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And yeah, I'd say that movie and The Dark Knight are probably the two single greatest comic book movies probably of all time. Like, that's my opinion. Obviously, I could be wrong, but between Logan and The Dark Knight, it's kind of a toss up in my head which one is actually better as a movie. But they're both amazing movies. So
yeah, and with comic books, I've been very open. I love comic books. You know, we're all around the same. We're all around the same age, except Jay. Except Jay,
Yeah, thanks.
you know, and it's one. I remember watching that movie, Unbreakable, and there's a scene where Samuel L. Jackson is talking about comic books and how they are the modern day hieroglyphics, and
Right.
in a way, it makes so. You know, I remember hearing that and just thinking like, wow, that works, that clicks so well because it just makes so sense. It makes so much sense. You know, and
Right.
we're seeing it more and more, and it's really nice to see kind of a comeback in comic books as of late, especially with the transition with wrestling too, because I know WWE did a couple really interesting comic book stories with like some of their superstars and stuff like that, but I think they could do better.
Yeah, there's always room for improvement.
Dre, can you tell us about your transition? So we talked a little bit about you getting into the art and stuff, but how did you transition into, I guess, the video game industry or the wrestling world, or was this all just based on passions and you just kind of like tried to follow what you liked in art, or did you kind of get lucky? Did somebody give you a magical phone call one day, or like how did all that happen?
Oh, it's a very convoluted story of how all this happened and how.
I would love to hear it. I'm on terminal leave from the Army right now, so like I ain't going anywhere. I got all day now.
Got you. So basically, learned how to draw first, and then randomly I seen wrestling. I don't remember how old I was. All I remember was Hulk Hogan, The Undertaker, 1-2-3 Kid, and Bret Hart. And the one thing that caught me was their colors, because I used to draw them and color them in and didn't know what their names were. So that's what drew me in originally, was just the colors, how they popped out and how they stood out on TV.
Okay.
Now, me growing up poor, I grew up poor, so we didn't have cable.
Where did you grow up? I'm sorry. Where'd you grow up?
Connecticut, Hartford, Connecticut.
Hartford. I've actually been there, believe it or not. Yeah, I've actually been. You grew up poor in Hartford, Connecticut?
Yeah, and a lot of people don't think that.
You'd be surprised.
That's a very affluent area of the United States. So I can imagine living on the other side of that. You know, in a place like that must have been very not obviously very difficult, but also very like weird probably, because everybody around because you were surrounded with affluence basically.
Yeah, so, but you know what? Like, even getting like more detailed into my life, outside of like wrestling and drawing, the one good thing that I did have was, my mother was around, and my stepfather, who was in the military, he really like,
Cool.
kept me in place. You know what I'm saying? There wasn't no playing around. You come inside when the lights are on. Don't let me catch you out there acting stupid. So I grew up. Yeah, I did grow up in a poor neighborhood, and we weren't the richest, but he went out and really like, he went the distance for me. Like, there was times where I came home and he got me a go-kart for no reason. Like, he
That's
was
awesome.
he was in this pickup truck and he said, "Hey, Andre, let's, I got to go somewhere. Come with me." And I'm like, "Where are we going?" So we go to this car place, and literally it's like a go-kart right there. I'm like, "Oh, that's a go-kart. It's nice." He's like, "It's yours." I'm like, "Oh,
What?
okay."
Yeah, like, what?
So it was just like I've had, I had a father figure in my life who really gave me a lot of tools to manage my life when I got younger. Like, he passed away when I was 19, but like throughout that time that he was there, before all that time, he always worked. I think like him growing up in the military, like he got hit by a car and like broke his leg, and he still went to work. Like,
Right.
he was just one of those guys who just was no nonsense.
It was that era. It was that
Yeah.
time. It was that era, basically. That's what made you a man, right? Like,
Yeah.
in those days, like, that's exactly what it was. You're right.
Yeah, so I just seen that and just mimicked that, and that's, But yeah, back to like,
Yeah, that's
putting the
great.
two together. Putting the two together wasn't really difficult. It was just the enjoyment of creation. So it's like when the wrestling games came out and they had Create a Wrestler, that's when I just went crazy. Oh, let me make a wrestler like this. Let me make a wrestler like this. And there wasn't no internet that where you could put the games up and upload the characters and things like that. That didn't happen until 2010. So
Right.
up until that time, I'm just creating stuff. The only people who knew I was good at it was my friends, where they were like, "Oh, let's make a league," and Dre will create everybody, and we'll just tell them what we want, how we want the characters to look. So SVR 2010 comes out, and at that time, I was just like, "Oh, it's gonna be a new wrestling game, whatever. I'll do my thing," And they say, "Oh, we're gonna have community creations. So whatever creations you make, you can upload them. People can download them around the world." So I'm like, in my head, I'm like, I'm gonna be known for that.
There you
This
go.
is how I'm going to let people know of my skills.
You obviously knew you had a talent. Like,
Oh,
so obviously you knew, like, you and probably your buddies, obviously, like, you knew this was something that you did way fucking better than like the average Joe. Is that correct? Like,
yeah, it wasn't like anything narcissistic. It was just like I knew that I put so much time and effort into all aspects of art that I knew that I wanted. At the time, because it's like I was working, I was like early 20s, so it was just like, let me do something to get myself known. You know what I'm saying? And from that time, it was like people kept their eyes on me, and I didn't even know up until a couple of years ago that they knew who I was. So, when that game came out, they had a feature called Paint Tool, because you couldn't upload textures. You couldn't just take a picture off online and just upload it to the website. You literally had to draw everything on the game. So I literally, the first day the game came out, I didn't play it. I went into Paint Tool mode and learned how to draw all the logos with the Xbox 360 controller.
that's
Literally
bad.
did not play the game for hours.
That's badass.
And the first tattoo that I wanted to do was Brock Lesnar's back tattoo. I knew if I could draw that, then I'm good with everything else.
Have you ever thought about tattooing? Is that a thing you might be interested in someday?
That was something that a lot of people said that I should get into, but it would be difficult for me to draw on someone's skin because they move, it's sweaty. I'd rather have something static. I could draw on it. If I got to erase something, I can.
Right.
So
right.
I can draw a person's tattoos. Like I've done that before, where people say, "Hey, can you draw me this so I can go get a tattoo of it?" Not a problem. Sitting, in a tattoo parlor. I don't even have tattoos, but just tattooing people probably make good money, but it's nothing I'm really too interested in.
Tell me about some of the art you've mentioned a couple of times that you get commissioned, basically, like people commission you to draw stuff for them. Like, tell me about please tell me about some of the pieces that you've had to, like, tell me something cool that you got to draw for somebody because they said, like, I want to see The Rock's face coming off the top rope with Randy Macho Man Savage cheering him on in the background, and I want like a little dude in the crowd. I want that to be like President Bush. Like, like when people come up to you with like crazy ideas and like art commissions, like what is that like as an artist when you get paid to draw something for someone? Like, What are some of the ones you've done like that are memorable to you?
Okay, so these were years ago. I haven't drawn wrestlers in a while. What I've really been doing now outside of wrestling games as far as art goes is more of logos, comic book characters that are being created for independent comic books. But the earliest one I could remember, if you can't remember this, it was on a Raw magazine, Undertaker beating Psycho Sid at WrestleMania with him holding up the title doing his Undertaker pose. I drew that when I was in 6th grade.
Okay.
I literally had to stare at his tattoos. I remember how long it took me days to finish it, just because of the tattoo work. Outline, face, everything was simplistic, wasn't too difficult. But just the tattoos and the shading, making sure you could see the tattoos. I wish I kept that picture.
You were thinking about that, and you were thinking about all those different aspects of art in 6th grade.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
That's how I know you're an artist, man. Like I've never been a good at drawing. I've always been a much better writer than I am a graphic artist, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the fact that you were thinking about that kind of stuff in 6th grade. Like, really says a lot. It really says a lot about how you really just had like this natural knack for the your artistic temperament, as it were. Like you obviously have a knack for it. If you're talking about shading and stuff, like I still draw like shitty stick figures, dude. Like I suck, and like I have like less than zero talent. I have like negative talent when it comes to like drawing a picture. I can write you the most beautiful story. I can give somebody a good poem or like whatever. Like it's not that words are not hard for me.
Yeah.
Drawing something, like actual art. And you even said you did a little bit of street art, right? Like
airbrush.
What'd you do with that? Like tell me about that. I would love to hear about that. Like
that one wasn't one of my favorite times, mainly because it's a very smelly job, just with all the airbrushing and the spray paint and permanent marker. It's the scents get to you. You got to have a lot of airflow, when you get it done.
Were you doing this legally, or were you doing it a little bit on?
No, I wasn't spray painting on walls. I wasn't doing none of that.
I'm just curious. You ain't gonna get no judgments here, dude, because I may or may not have a little bit of experience with the can, dude. I'm just saying. But I'm just asking.
Oh no, mine. Well, I did do a little bit of spray painting, airbrushing on walls, but they were commissioned. So it was inside a building where they wanted like after school program. They wanted me to do some airbrush work on the wall.
Hell yeah.
But a majority of it was on clothing. So like in the early 2000s, people wanted the airbrush shirts with the names, Looney Tune characters, stuff like that. Like they doing like the girl dance group wanted me to like put their names on their jeans and
Times
stuff
Square
like that.
Art.
Yeah. So so it was like that was stuff I was doing. The only issue with that is because all my clients were young, they really couldn't pay good prices. So it was like, for a group, 3 people, they could only pay me $40. And, it takes me hours to get it done.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'm getting such a low pay for the amount of time I, take to make it. So after a while, I stopped doing it. I mean, can I still do it today? Yes. But the time, the pay that I would require, people wouldn't accept. And that's why I kind of shifted my focus to what I can actually sell and, not spend that much time on because I'm so efficient at, making the artwork. So album covers.
So going back over to some of the commissioned art that you did, like what were some of your favorite pieces, I guess, when somebody came to you with like an idea and you were like, damn, I do want to draw that. Like that sounds badass. And then you got to draw that, you got to make it happen for them. So like what were some of the ones that were memorable to you?
2 motorcycles that I did when I was 20, I want to say like 22. I did a Green Goblin design on a motorcycle.
Ooh.
And I did a Transformer design on a motorcycle.
Like you're talking about like on an actual motorcycle, like you're spray painting like the actual motorcycle itself to make basically.
Yeah.
Like, that's fucking badass, bro.
And it's like literally I went into it never doing it before. I never airbrushed on a motorcycle a day in my life. And literally I Googled, what airbrush to use, which I already had an airbrush machine, which was old as hell. It was given to me. And I just put clear coat on it after I was done. And, it was already sunny. So I just told him, you got to let it sit out in the sun. that was probably one of my favorites because I never did it before, and it was something that challenged me. A lot of the times, I always accept anything that I have never done before as a challenge, and I love that because it's something new. It makes me think. Sometimes you can ask me to draw something, and I could just, no problem. All right, boom, 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 it's done. Here you go. But then when you give me something I can really sink my teeth into, it makes me feel that I'm evolving as an artist and really challenging my skills that I learned up until this time.
I like
so
that.
It's stuff like that. I got a 4x4 foot painting. I did this when I was like 14. I still have it to this day. I never sold it. People wanted to buy it. I'm never going to sell it. I'm always going to keep it. I did still life when I was a freshman in high school. So my art teacher just put a bunch of random things like a boot, a glass, a crate, a milk crate, and said, draw it. And I literally just sat right there in the class and just drew what I seen. And it came out beautiful. Like I did another picture of a model. That was a challenge that at the age of 14, I had my first summer job at this location called the Artist Collective. It was like a summer program. They paid you, and it's just to keep kids out of trouble, something to do during the summertime. They had art class, music, things like that. So I was like, I'll try to get into music, but of course I'm jumping into art. So I go into the art room and I'm like, yeah, I know how to draw. The art teacher, it was two of them. They was like, draw me something and we'll see what we can do with you for the summer. Cool. So I drew something. They were like, okay, we can't teach you anything. You're good at what you're doing. You could just help us. So literally during the summers, I would help the art teachers teach the art class. So that's what I would do. And they would just say, whenever you're done helping the kids, do whatever you want. I would go on Adobe Photoshop, create a bunch of artwork. And this is when I was like 13, 14 years old. So I'm just doing that. And then I'm taking like piano classes.
Yeah, you're talking about like the early days. The early days of like Photoshop and like Microsoft Paint back in the day.
That is easy as it is today. Oh my God! Literally you had to literally do every single detail, just like today. But it's way more easier now. Like
there were like 3 steps to do all that. Like on the program, like you had to like open this one thing with this one brush, and then like do this for like 2 seconds, and then go back and like open another thing to get a different tool to like do the shading order. Like my best friend. My best friend, when he unfortunately passed away when we were 22. It was a long time ago, but my best friend was an artist, and that's why I have a lot of passion for art, really in general. And that's why I love hearing what you're talking about. That's why I wanted to hear your story, because I love hearing from artists.
Yeah,
it's a beautiful thing. Like, tell me.
I got something. One thing, and it's actually really cool because you actually asked a lot of the. You'll be proud of me, Jay. I actually wrote shit down.
Hey, good job. We're not today. We're not getting today.
There
we go. We're one episode at a time, dude. One episode at a time.
We're not forgetting anything today. I have a habit of drawing blanks in my head sometimes, but today I came prepared. So one thing I've always been curious about, because like Kobalus said in our comments, and then like myself, like I was saying earlier, I've been following your work since SVR10, like since the beginning. And one thing that I've always thought, like, okay, yeah, you're doing the art too, but are you molding some of these calls as well?
I'm doing all of it, all the aspects, face morphing, all of it, like getting everything done, move sets, all that stuff. I mean.
That's insane.
At that time, I didn't know anybody. So it was just like, it was up to me. It wasn't like I could pass it along to like Righteous and say, hey, can you do the moveset for me? No, I literally had to do and it was fine because it's wrestling. I could sit there and just watch matches.
Yeah.
And just say, okay. And mind you, YouTube, and this makes us old, is only 5 years old at the time.
Yeah.
Because YouTube came out, 2005, 2006?
Yeah. Oh my God, yeah.
So you're not going to have a lot of YouTube videos with a bunch of these wrestling matches going back in the day. You know what I'm saying? So it was just like finding the matches that I needed to find, making the movesets, and it was all up to me. And I was okay with that because it was like, what I wanted to do was to show people that I had skill and talent to be recognized. And that was just the point. Maybe it's the ability to finally share with the world what I'm good at, and seeing where I stand amongst the community.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? And it's like, will my name be up there, or will I be one of those people who fizzle out? And that was always the motivation for me. And just when it first came out, and I remember it like it was yesterday because it was a big thing for me when THQ showcased my creations the first week. And it was just like, I did not realize that there was a community of creators out there who was on the website. I didn't know. So it was just like, somebody directed me to the website and was like, hey, go on there. They're talking about you. I'm like, oh, okay. Let's see what they got to say. And they are, can we curse on here?
Yeah. You can say whatever you want. You're good.
They were.
I don't give a fuck, bro. I don't give a fuck. It's all good. This podcast is rated fucking X. We don't give a fuck.
This is why we're trying to get on Sirius XM.
There we go. So yeah, they were shitting on me all on the website. It was like, who's this guy? Who do you think he is? And why are they promoting his stuff? We don't know who he is. So I'm like, whoa, what is going on here? Like, I'm just trying to get known. I don't
damn, man, I'm just putting my shit out there. Like, why you gotta be a fucking hater?
And it's like, it was a community that I did not realize was out there. And it opened my eyes up. It definitely did to realize that there are going to be people, no matter how good you are, that will criticize every little thing you do, which is understandable. You're going to get the people who love your work, and you're going to get the people you can never satisfy. It is what it is.
Let's be honest, Dre. Like, it's the internet, so people are also going to say shit on the internet that they would never have the fucking balls or the fucking intestinal fortitude to say if they were in person.
Yeah.
So you're going to get, the internet really provided a safe space, as it were, for people to really tell you how they fucking actually feel, because they don't have to say anything to your face. They can do it all, like, either anonymously, or even if their identity is attached, they can do it just over the internet, and they don't have to worry because they live 2,000 miles away.
Yep.
Right?
And that's what it was. And it was like, for the longest time, and maybe it was because I wanted to be accepted into a group, that I constantly stayed on that website showcasing my stuff before I uploaded. And after a while, I was just, I said to myself, it's like, these people, you're not going to satisfy. Yeah. Why worry about the people you will never make happy? Worry about the people who are enjoying your work. So I just stopped going on the website, and I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to do my own thing, and I'll get promoted where I get promoted. And that's what I'll worry about, because at the end of the day, it benefits me none to sit there and ponder and worry about someone who doesn't like what I'm doing, or saying that, oh, you're not really drawing everything in the game. You're hacking it in. And it was like, what? First off, I'm too lazy to learn how to hack a 360 and and try to
there's already so many moving parts in it.
Yeah, I didn't become really tech savvy until like my late 20s. So it was just like, I don't have time to do that. Like, I go to work, I come home, play video games, and create wrestlers and draw. Like, I'm not doing all the other stuff. I'm all set, So that's like how I really like the beginnings of it. And then it's like, from there, it's like, after people seen like consistently after game that, oh, wait a minute, there's no way, that he's doing this, because his stuff is just getting better and better.
Absolutely.
He's one of those guys. Like, he's one of those guys that's in it for the long haul. He popped up out of nowhere, but he's one of those guys who in for the long haul. And it's like, a lot of those guys who was on that website, I don't even hear from anymore. Like, I don't see none of their stuff anymore. It's like a lot of them more or less gave up, And it's like, for me, as long as you have hands, you create art.
Yeah,
you're an artist. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, maybe they were in it for the wrong reasons, or maybe they weren't as interested as I was.
Yeah.
Dre, who are? I'm sorry, John. Go ahead.
I just want to read these comments. Nigma Kobalus Nighthaven says, the face morphs are meticulous. As an artist and creator, I've gone into his creations to see the amount of detail, from face morphing to immaculate image placement. The image placement is insane. Incomparable work. Please keep it up. But Dre's tutorials on YouTube are what helped Gabriel Gates become a big deal in the Call League community. Without Dre, there is no Gates.
Wow.
Thank you.
That's high praise. That is
Yeah.
high
Man,
praise. That
thank
is
you.
high praise.
Shoot, I listen. My whole thing is put everybody on an equal playing field. Like I'm not gonna keep any of the secrets of how to do what I do to myself because I know I can't do this forever.
You're
You
talking.
know?
You're talking about it's kind of the teach a man to fish philosophy, basically.
Yes. Yes.
Like like why hold on to it for yourself and keep all the hard secrets, to making it look really good to
Hmm.
yourself. You can show the world how to do it and be a little bit more altruistic with your art, basically.
Yeah, because I
That's
I do-
beautiful.
I want to download other people's stuff. I want to use other people. My whole thing is always showcase everybody's work.
And,
And
yeah,
John could sit there and attest to this. Like when he was
I was
using his
actually I was actually about to. This was like the best segue to go into this because
yeah.
this was it. Yeah.
Okay.
Go on. Go
So
on.
so what I wanted to do was I wanted to make a league where I just show off other people's creations. I didn't want to put none of mine in there. I just want everybody else from the community to join up and have their character on there so we can showcase what they can do. Because in the community itself, especially around that time when it started, it was kind of divided. PlayStation and Xbox. You know what I'm saying? And it was just like I'm just on Xbox strictly. So it was just like, okay, we don't know that many creators on Xbox. I wanted to make it to where there's more creators known, more people are, with their stuff being showcased, that will, maybe push them to make more. You know what I'm saying? So it was just like one hand washes the other. I'll use my platform to build up other people because I want the community to grow. I
That's
want there to be more creators.
that
There
is
has to be.
exactly that
Because,
is almost exactly what we do here at D214 Gaming. Like we're very very decentralized, and it's more about just there being a community, there being a group that can input together if they need to, and then in the meantime, if we're not doing anything together, boost your own shit. Like we'll give you guys a platform to like give us a link to your stream. You can stream like once a day on our Facebook page, basically. Like so, if people are trying to get their name out there or whatever, and they're part of our community, like that's exactly what we do. Like I love I
Yeah.
love that philosophy.
And
Like I love.
and I love this because I would like to personally say that I think I was probably one of the very first few in the
yeah,
foundation of Pro Wrestling Revolution, and Nicky Larson says if you're not getting criticized, you're doing something wrong. Absolutely right. And
that is
and
true.
to answer Kobalus' question, does Dre own a league? If not, would he? The answer is Pro Wrestling Revolution.
Yep.
When I first heard about this as a fan following you, I was just like, "Oh, this is really cool." Because during that time, I was heavily into the WWE. I've played every single WWE game, and we're going all the way back to Nintendo 64, even before that. Like, I've played every single one, and to be able to have the people who have always supported you and become the forefront of your broadcast, it was very humble. It was very cool,
Yeah.
and a lot there. Oh my God, how many submissions did you get?
It jumped high after creating that. I mean, you got to remember, like I did that
What is
when
a
we started in 2018. So it was.
John asked, when John asked what a submission is, what is a submission?
Oh no, like subs for the YouTube channel. Or no, what you mean, like
No,
submissions for the
a submission for the created
league?
characters. Yeah,
Okay, for the league. Oh, a lot. It was a lot of people who wanted to submit their creations. The one thing I wanted to do was I didn't want to make the roster too big to where I can't showcase everybody. So I think in 2017, because I think we started it in 2K18. So yep. So in 2017, it was like probably a roster of 30, probably like a roster of like 30, 35. And I could remember just the enjoyment of doing like the commentary and building story. Like even with John, like he had a feud with oh goodness,
I had a feud with
Patrick Rage.
Yes, Patrick Rage, and then I had
Patrick
another one
Rage,
with
yeah.
Joe Blade as well. Which Joe Blade, the one thing that was really funny about my character is that I always lost. I always lost, and you tried so hard. You tried so hard to up his stats, and like he always lost. But the one thing, I was so beloved that I was always on air, but I always lost.
Yeah. You were the underdog. Like you were probably the original underdog character, and it was like I will always put you in programs. You will always get the title shot, but you wouldn't win. And it was just like that. That was like
John totally unintentionally created a jobber.
Yeah.
I mean, he would get wins to get to the title, but he would never win the title. I mean, I remember even like they would cut promos on Twitter, and I would take those off of Twitter and implement them into the shows and have background music and everything. So it was just like it was like a real life feud. Like him and Patrick Rage was like probably the original rivalry on the show.
And everyone
that's awesome. And for anybody in our viewing audience that doesn't know what a jobber is in professional wrestling, a jobber is basically the guy at the very bottom of the card who's just kind of like paid to lose. You know, like, and this, you know, going back into the 70s and 80s era of professional wrestling, when they kept everything like serious, like they made it, it was still a big thing back in those early days of our lives, that they pretended like it was real, right? So a jobber was just the guy that kind of lost all the time, but did a job. But sometimes jobbers in the professional wrestling industry even became like they're describing. Would get title shots every once in a while. Like they'd go on a little streak and they'd build a little hype for a couple weeks.
For the pop.
Yeah, it was for pop. You know, like guys like the Brooklyn Brawler. You know, like the dude is like the most world famous jobber in professional wrestling. But he got a couple of title shots because like that was at the time they needed a push. Somebody was injured. They had to buy some time. Well, let's bring the Brooklyn Brawler up and like let him wrestle Hulk Hogan, right? You know, like obviously he's gonna lose. Like nobody thinks Brooklyn Brawler is gonna beat Hulk Hogan, right? But that's a jobber. So I apologize. I said my bad.
But it's so cool. But now there was a lot of production on this, a lot. So how long did it take to make one episode?
One episode took probably 3 to 4 hours. And that's recording the matches, voiceover. At the time when I first started, no one had copywritten music, so you know. But I'll stick with the current one. So 3 to 4 hours. So I would add if they wanted their own theme music, I say send me a link to the music you want your character to have. Cool, no problem. You send it to me. I would use that. Edit all the sounds. Do the intro video. And if I had to add cutscenes to it, because a lot of the times in universe mode, you can't add cutscenes. Either the computer is going to do it automatically, and if you don't want that to happen, you got to do it yourself. The loading times are terrible. So it would literally take 30 to 40 minutes just to get a group of cutscenes done.
Yeah. So
it was time consuming, thoroughly time consuming.
And on top of that, with the created characters, it would take much longer for the games to load because of everything, whether it be like some of the tattoos, the colors, the logos. Yeah, it was that.
So especially if you had like a bunch of logos, tattoos, and stuff like that, it would take longer for the game to load up. So it was definitely a process, and I learned later on through the seasons that I would do is to make it less work for myself. I'm just going to bang out episodes and not put it out until I got 2 months done. So I would sit there with gigabytes on my computer with episodes just waiting to be released instead of doing it once a week. Because that's what I used to do when I first started. I was like, okay, on Sunday, I'll record the show, have it up for Monday. It was too much. It was literally too much to do, and it was so much work, and it was just bearing down on me because it's like, oh shoot, Monday's right around the corner. Let me record another episode, and then I'll have to go through Twitter, see who's beefing with each other, who's trash talking with each other, and I got to make a match off of that because the show was called Rivals. So if you had a rivalry on Twitter, then I make a match out of it, and and it was just based upon that, and it was so fun, but it was definitely time consuming. It was tough.
Yeah,
it was really tough to do. And hats off to people who do it on a regular basis, because once again, my thing was creating wrestlers. Like I was doing this show just to literally showcase everybody else, So definitely fun. Something I can't wait to get back to again. We just finished our 4th season.
Yep.
And I'm gonna wait for a new wrestling game to come out. Hopefully, I'm hoping the next
Yeah.
WWE game is good. I'm hoping, but if it's not, then I'll just wait for another one to come out.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure we'll talk about the
Yeah,
wrestling code
yeah,
a
we're
little
about
bit.
to.
But yeah.
I've got a lot of questions for you regarding like professional wrestling. So like yeah, like
So,
that.
well, before we
That's like
get
kind of
to the wrestling code,
Go ahead.
this would be the best time to go through that. Like, one question for me, like, okay, so you said the 1-2-3 Kid, the 1-2-3 Kid, my favorite X-Pac, is my favorite wrestler
Of all time.
of all
Hey
time.
John, you want to hear a funny story? I remember watching X-Pac / the 1-2-3 Kid / the Lightning Kid when he was
Yeah,
on like the indie circuit. Every once in a while, ESPN would show professional wrestling back in the day. I'm talking like when I was like 10 years old. So this would be like 1990, 1991 time frame. And every once in a while, ESPN would show professional wrestling, but they would show these crazy like independent circuit. It wasn't WWF and it wasn't NWA or WCW. It was like
AAA was one of those.
independent, like Bush League wrestling, but ESPN would show it. And I remember seeing him as the Lightning Kid. He wore like a red unitard
Yep.
basically, and like dude, it was like because he was a lot smaller. So
Oh yeah.
sorry, you just gave me like a
Oh no,
flashback.
you're good. He, you know, so the first time I ever saw him, I watched him beat Razor Ramon, and ever since then, I was just like, man, I love this guy. And then, you know, my parents weren't really too keen on the wrestling thing because it was, you know, too violent at that time. Especially when I put the TV on, and the first thing you see is my favorite wrestler doing the chop. You know,
Yeah.
on UPN SmackDown at that time, and
Yeah.
you know, he's always been he's a great podcaster too. You know, he's got
Yeah.
a great show. You know, he's
I
still
love hearing the stories. I love hearing the stories on YouTube interviews and stuff. Like of all the, guys like X-Pac. But I mean, we're talking everybody now. Like now that they've kind of dropped kayfabe, and once the WWF, now WWE, kind of officially like announced that like, yes, this is sports entertainment. It's not necessarily sports, right? Sports entertainment. And once they drop kayfabe, it's so awesome to hear the stories from the older guys and guys like X-Pac, even during that era of wrestling. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
that era really changed. Like the rest of the professional wrestling I remember from my childhood, and the professional wrestling that came about during like the mid to late '90s, like when I was in high school, are two entirely separate things. But that was when the professional wrestling culture kind of shifted.
Yeah.
And it was so awesome to see that. Like it was such a massive shift in how they operated, and it allowed them to like expand, and like that's how WWE and WCW got so fucking huge in the late '90s. With the Monday Night Wars, was because of how they finally dropped kayfabe. They said, all right, we're not bullshit anymore. Like, yes, some of the outcomes are predetermined, but look at how they fucking get there. That's not. That part is really not. And then like. So again, sorry.
So Dre, what channel were you tuning into on Monday nights?
Oh, both. I would flip channels. Honestly,
There you go.
I would flip channels. So the main one was always Raw. I'm just gonna put it out there. The main one was always Raw, and whenever they go on a commercial, all right, let me flip. Unless I seen like a match I didn't like, and I flip. And man, it was such a great time in wrestling, man. Like the Monday Night Wars, because you got to think Mondays you're watching Nitro or Raw. I believe Tuesdays on MSG you can get ECW.
Yep.
Wednesdays
Thunder.
you were getting Thunder, and Thursdays, well at the time because they used to switch, and Thursdays you get SmackDown, and then I think Fridays was also ECW, but it was they just a replay of it, and that was it.
And then we would have Sunday night. We would have Sunday Night Heat, and then on the Spanish channel we would have WWE Sunday Night Metal. Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to imagine, like, and for a lot of people watching, like, if you're not into professional wrestling, like, you don't really, it's not the same these days, But if you wanted wrestling at the time, if you wanted professional wrestling at the time, 6-7 days out of the week there was something on.
Mm-hmm.
If you really liked it that much, like there were options basically at the time. It was beautiful. It was a beautiful time. Who was your Dre? who are some of your favorite wrestlers, or if you have an overall favorite even, and I want to hear why they're your favorites, or why
Okay.
they, because it's not. I always love hearing, because everybody's views are so scattered. Like a lot of people agree on some of the hardest workers and the best wrestlers of all time, but when you ask somebody who their favorite is, you're gonna get these like wildly varied responses. And I'm very curious to hear like who is your favorite, or some of your favorites when you were growing up, or even to this day. Like who did you like, or who do you like?
Okay, so I know a lot of people are gonna hate this answer. All right, so of course,
That's why I love that. That's why I love asking this question, because everybody has their own favorite, basically, right? Like,
so
please.
from being from Connecticut, and I know this is a terrible, but I was young, so don't blame me.
Oh man, that
Triple H was my original favorite because he was the Connecticut blue blood, and I was just in my head, I'm just like, hey, somebody from Connecticut. I'm with him 100%. Even though he was a cocky, arrogant dude, he wore stupid clothes. I used to hate, like that little fluffy shirt thing. And
Yeah,
but
back when he was Hunter Hearst Helmsley.
yes,
and
yeah. So it was just
Paul
like,
Levesque.
yeah, exactly. And it was just like him as a character, just an ignorant. Like, I mean, he embodied what you thought like some aristocratic person from Connecticut would look like. The big nose, the nose in the air, what I'm saying, doing the cursey.
When I go to a dive bar, like a dude walks in like a suit, and I'm just like, you bougie fuck. Like,
Exactly.
this is a dive bar, bro. Like, what the fuck are you dressed up for? Like, can you stop? Can you just fucking stop? Okay?
Right?
Like,
Exactly. Exactly. Like him.
He's had a hell of a career though. What, like,
Yo, the turnaround was crazy. It was crazy. I would have never. If I could go back in time and tell myself, your favorite wrestler will eventually be one of the top guys in the business, run his own organization within the company, and build up talent from the independents, I would have been like, you're lying. He doesn't even look like the type of person to care about that stuff. You know what I'm saying? So
his trajectory is insane.
yes, it is.
When you go back to those early days of his career, and to see where he's at now, and
you would never think
really what he's become. Like when you see a person evolve, obviously, like, I'm the same person I was in elementary school, right? But I've evolved since then, right? Because I'm 40 goddamn years old, right? And to watch Triple H evolve from Hunter Hearst Helmsley to basically, like, whenever Vince McMahon croaks, like, he's probably going to be the guy running the shit. You know what I mean? Like, literally, like he really has become like the successor to Vince McMahon, which Vince McMahon,
I feel that's fair. That's a very fair statement to say.
Well, and Vince McMahon is a junior. Vince McMahon got the company from his fucking dad, and Vince McMahon is the one that took it nationwide. Because back in, even when I was a kid, like in the early '80s, it was still territorial. Like, nothing had been decided at the time. Like, professional wrestling used to be very territorial. There were these little like fiefdoms all over the United States of like
those were
wrestling.
Great days, though.
They were, and that's that's the history of kind of. But people forget that like this was still going on like within our lifetime. Like, I was born in 1981. That's still how it was back in 1981 when I was born. It was not that long ago. People kind of take for granted that like there's only like one or two big companies now, and you get all your content as fast as you can click the mouse on the keypad, right? Back in those days, it was very very territorial, and it was not nationwide. Vince McMahon is the one that took it nationwide, and now Triple H is going to be the one that probably succeeds him whenever he decides to hang it up. So I apologize, John. Go ahead.
What are some of your favorite performers now? In all of wrestling, just give me three.
Okay, some of them you're not going to know. Maybe you'll know some of them. Okay, let's do main stars. No, matter of fact, let me give the people their flowers. That even if you don't know, you can look them up.
Yeah.
Wrecking Ball Legursky.
Okay. Yep. Big fan.
He was trained by the Dudley Boys.
Yes.
Big guy. He's a former NEW champion. Yes.
Yes.
Yes, he is. He's been on Ring of Honor. He's been on Impact Wrestling too. I would say he's a mixture of like Rhino and Bam Bam Bigelow.
Yeah.
Yes. Him.
Great
I want
outfit
to say
too.
JT Dunn.
I have
Yeah.
something to say about JT Dunn. JT
Okay.
Dunn is probably one of the coolest wrestlers, people out there. He is so humble. I would, yeah. I actually watched him. I went to a Pro Wrestling Magic show where he performed at the main event and won the championship against EC Negro. This was the first time I ever heard of the guy, and I was instantly a fan. You know,
Yeah, he's a cool guy.
JT Dunn is you know, he deserves. He does have a fight coming up this week. Well, he deserves every good thing that comes his way.
Yo, super cool dude. He did an intro for my YouTube channel. Super cool dude. Even gave me like a autograph picture. I mean, super cool guy. You know, same thing with Wrecking Ball Legursky. I like, even after a show, I just sat there and talked to him. Like, we knew the same people. Like, a guy I graduated in high school is the guy he used to bunk with in college. So, you know, it's small world, but it's like a lot of these independent guys in the Northeast I keep an eye on. I'll stick with that for the independents. For the guys you probably would see on TV, has to be AJ Styles. Always will be AJ Styles. AJ Styles is, bar none, one of the top wrestlers who's consistently
Hell of
have
a
been able to
worker.
have great matches on a regular basis. This guy he's up there in age, but he still wrestles, so I can say it. The Great Muta. Great Muta was always one of my favorites because he evolved just like Undertaker.
That dude's still alive.
Yeah.
Jesus
Yeah.
Christ. I haven't heard anybody name drop the Great Muta ever. Like, you know, it's been a long time, dude. Like, oh my, I remember him from when I was a kid, because he was like the original dude, like, would spit shit in your face. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, he was like the original, like, yeah, dude, that's that dude. Wow, good shit, man.
He's the world champion right now for Noah. Pro Wrestling Noah. Yes,
Noah.
He's the world champion.
I like
How old
Noah.
He's like 60.
How old is he now?
He's like 60.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Do you remember the not the Iron Sheik? Do you remember the Sheik?
The original Sheik, yes.
The original Sheik, like the one that would like carve dudes fucking like
Yep,
you know,
and
foreheads,
there's fire in their
like,
face.
Yeah.
Damn.
Oh my god. Like,
You know
bro,
who? You know who I'm still surprised still kind of is kicking ass right now? Taka Michinoku.
But he's not that old though. You gotta remember,
He's in his
he was in
40s,
WWF. He was in his
50s.
early 20s.
yeah,
That's
like
true.
guys like
That's true.
the great Muta, the Sheik that we were talking about. Like, these guys literally wrestled almost into like their 70s.
Yeah.
Like literally almost into their 70s. You know, go ahead.
Speaking of like just like how tough the Great Muta is, and this is something I never would have thought I would have seen. Like, they turned Japanese wrestling into literally Street Fighter. A guy put lighter fluid on his boot, set it on fire, and kicked the Great Muta in the head. This recently happened while he was defending the championship. I was just like, what am I watching?
There's some interesting things that have happened.
Dude's like 60 years old. It's like, dude, you can take a break. It's okay. Like, just you're fine. You're good. You've done it all, bro. Like, we got you. But holy crap, can you stop? Like,
Yeah.
That's like you look at a guy like Mick Foley. You know, like that. Like, his whole career was just like, can you just stop, dude? Can you stop? Like, this is too much. Like, can you just stop, please?
Yeah, like he took way too many chances. Way too many.
For us.
But I'm pretty
For
sure
us.
they paid him.
For us. All
Speaking
for
of-
us.
Speaking of Mick Foley, but one of the questions I really wanted to know was, you know, Hell in a Cell with The Undertaker and Mankind, widely considered one of the greatest matches of all time. Nobody's saying it's not. I want to hear, as a wrestling fan, what is your favorite match, or what do you consider to be the greatest match of all time? I know what I have for my pick, but as a wrestling fan, what do you think was the greatest match of all time?
Damn. Okay. I don't have a favorite match. I think I have like two.
Okay. I'm all ears.
I want to say Shawn Michaels versus Triple H at SummerSlam.
Okay.
I want to say 2005.
Is that
six?
the three stages of hell match?
No, this is when Shawn Michaels made his first return back.
Okay.
So he wasn't even in wrestling gear. He had like a
Jeans.
tank top
Yeah.
on with jeans. Yeah. That, and I want to say, damn, I'm gonna have to take this to. I want to say Hayabusa versus Onita and a steel cage, exploding ring.
I remember
pool
that
match.
one. Yeah.
Damn, dude. Digging deep into the archive. No, I know the match you're talking about because that's a fantastic match. John, your turn, dude. I want to hear yours.
Well, before I said, Kobalus says AEW just hosted the first legit major televised death match. Hell of a time to be a wrestling fan.
There ain't no fucking lie right there.
It's
There's the fucking truth.
Was it though? Was it?
Match with the biggest
really?
hype build-up storyline. Crow Sting versus Hulk Hogan. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That actually Crow Sting versus Hollywood Hogan was a good one. But my favorite match. All right, this is gonna be kind of controversial. Y'all. It's Chris Benoit when he was the Pegasus Kid against Eddie Guerrero, New Japan.
Okay.
Absolutely.
You know, the reason why that's one of my favorite matches, you know, and I could probably say like 5 Dean Malenko matches that are even better than that. But just this match itself, there was everything that you could think, you know. There's always a storyline between Guerrero and Benoit. There's always been one there, and you know, it's actually have my Chris Benoit action figure here. You know,
ooh, that's going to be censored for the video.
Yeah.
Hide your wives, hide your kids. Like,
yeah, you know, and guys, I'm not saying, you know, he's my favorite wrestler or anything like that. I'm just saying that the match itself to me was a good match.
You know, and I think I want to touch on this real quickly because like I made kind of an off-color joke, but I think it's about time that professional wrestling kind of moves on from that tragedy and acknowledges that, like, in the ring, this guy was, we don't have to blacklist him anymore. Like, I get what he did, and it was a terrible, terrible thing, but it does not take away what he did in the ring because he obviously influenced a big part of an entire generation of wrestling fans when he was still active. And it's an extremely serious thing, you know, what occurred when he ended his life, not only his life, but the lives of his family members. But professional wrestling needs to, like, you know, when the WWE decided to just completely like black him out and just cross him off the list basically and pretend he didn't exist, I do think it kind of like it doesn't say much for what actually transpired during the time that he was still alive and active, you know. And it's I don't know, like do we whitewash it? Do we just whitewash it and call it and just pretend the history didn't happen? Like you still have an action figure, right?
Yeah.
This is a super touchy subject in professional wrestling, but like you obviously still have an action figure.
Yeah.
Like,
so
what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on that?
All right,
like,
so I'm you know, I've been very open about this, especially with, you know, with what happened in the past, you know, personally with the show. I always believe you can't delete history, because if you delete history, you're hiding the truth. You know,
agreed.
I don't have any thoughts about the tragedy exactly. Only, you know, there's so many layers to it, and I'm not legally qualified to pretty much, you know, make a conclusion about it. But you know, we do have to remember, you know, just like Kobalus says, after Eddie Guerrero died, you know, there was a big shift in the mental of Chris Benoit, and you know, it's no excuse for what he did. There are no excuses for what he did. No. But as far as his in ring work goes, I do like to watch his in ring work for the simple fact that he did create some magic with specific wrestlers like Eddie Guerrero, like Dean Malenko. You know, he was a fantastic wrestler, but as you know, that's really all I have to say about that.
I appreciate it. I appreciate you being candid about that. Like I'll shift the tempo now because I apologize. Like, I
Well,
know we got kind of deep into the weeds on on Chris Benoit, but
yeah,
my,
well, we actually, yeah,
so,
we have to go into. Well, did you have anything you wanted to say about that, Dre?
For me, okay, here's basically how I look at it, and I usually tell people I don't even need a response, but just think of it from this aspect. Imagine if somebody really, really talented did something really horrible to one of your family members, and other people around you still loved their work. How would you feel about it?
right,
You're absolutely
right,
right.
right,
You are
and
absolutely right about that.
it makes and that's exactly why it's so hard in the wrestling community. There's like it's a really big touchy subject
Yeah,
when you bring up Chris Benoit in the wrestling community because it's like holy crap, it was magic when it was going on, and then man, when it ended so terribly. Like nobody even knows what to say anymore,
Yeah.
yeah.
right? Nobody even knows what to say anymore, so I apologize for shifting the tempo.
No, but
So
I mean that's something that wrestling fans should be able to speak about, though.
well,
Yeah.
and we were talking about our personal picks for
Yeah,
greatest of all time.
Yeah,
So
actually, you don't have to apologize for anything. I'm the one that has to apologize. I shifted it. My
no, not
apologies. I,
no, and no, that was no, John. That was part of the point I was making. Is like
yeah,
you should be able as a wrestling fan to acknowledge that one of the greatest matches of all time, in your opinion, was a match where this gentleman was involved, right? It shouldn't be that touchy, but like that's what I was saying. Like it's not that what happened wasn't insanely bad. It was more like you feel bad for mentioning him
yeah,
as a wrestling, as if like when you were growing up and when it was happening, it was magic. But it ended so badly, like you felt bad about even bringing it up in
yeah,
a
yeah. And
great
it's very rare that I even bring him up, and the fact that he's under my desk and not hung up on the wall should say a lot. So,
well, and I'm glad you should have that freedom. You should have that freedom to acknowledge that, I guess, at the very bare minimum, because
yeah,
nobody knew better. Nobody knew any better. Like it's not like you predict that shit, So,
yeah.
anyways,
Well, anyways,
so
we have
greatest matches of all time. Greatest matches of all time. Mid card WrestleMania 3. Ricky Steamboat versus Macho Man Randy Savage. That
would
is
you
my.
consider that a mid card match?
It was a semi mid card match on WrestleMania 3. So like obviously the big story was Hulk and Andre, right?
Yeah.
But mid card match, Ricky Steamboat, Macho Man Randy Savage. And if you watch this match, the technical precision of a professional wrestling match was literally like at its peak. And again, this is an era where kayfabe was still a thing, so they never dropped character and whatever. Ricky Steamboat actually, I think, went to Macho Man's house in Florida or vice versa, one or the other, and they actually practiced this match before the pay-per-view. And like that was how dedicated both of them were to making a show basically of the match. And if you go back and you might, I don't know if you'd be able to find it on YouTube or not, but in the 70s 80s era of wrestling, when kayfabe was still a thing and you had to keep up the character basically, this is early to beginning mid career for Macho Man. And for Ricky Steamboat, he was in like the original like third of his career. And they're both, you can just see the work they put in on this match. And if you watch that match, it is fucking magic. And they were in front of 93,000 people at the Pontiac Silverdome. The big story that night was Hulk versus Andre. But you'll find this one match in the middle of WrestleMania 3 that fucking stole the goddamn show. Like literally stole the fucking show. Like the only thing that got a bigger pop that night was fucking Hulk Hogan finally body slamming Andre the Giant, right?
Yeah.
And Hulkamania ran wild. That was like kind of the era I came up in. And then obviously like close second to that one is obviously going to be Hell in a Cell, because that took the extreme element of wrestling and brought it to such a wide audience nationwide. That really.
Oh,
Uh,
This is for fucking real. Like we're not fucking around anymore. You know, like dudes are getting thrown off cages and they're getting powerbombed on the thumbtacks. And that was like shit that like only ICP fucking rapped about like in the 90s. You know what I mean? Like that's like people like professional wrestling was always a very niche sport, right? And if you weren't into it, like you just weren't into it, and you made fun of people that were, basically, right?
Yeah.
And when the Attitude Era started, and when the Monday Night Wars became a thing, that I was in high school this time when all this was going down. You saw a shift where like it became a cultural thing. Like everybody liked wrestling now, and it really like exploded nationwide. Like you saw dudes wearing like, you know, Austin 316 t-shirts and like NWO.
Dennis Rodman became a member of the NWO.
Right. And David Arquette became a fucking WC. I mean, you know.
Listen, he came. Okay, before we go into the wrestling code, I do have to ask. Yeah, I actually.
Arquette wrestling right now.
Yeah, before we get to the wrestling code, I do have to ask you because because you go to a lot of shows, and I know that there are a lot of wrestling shows in the Connecticut area, in the New England area, and oh my God, what was I gonna say? Damn it! I said no blanks today. I said no.
Well, me going to like the shows in like.
Oh, okay. So David Arquette made this redemption run. Did you get to see him at any time during his run? How was he?
Yeah.
How was he, and how do you feel about his redemption?
Okay, so I give him respect, because anybody who decides to go into the ring, you have to be passionate about it, because if you're not, you're gonna get yourself killed. So I respect him a lot for even stepping in. Like when I stepped in the ring, listen, I almost hurt myself getting through the ropes. Okay, so for anybody that can get through those ropes on a regular night and not hurt themselves or hook something, God bless. But now I seen him at an independent show, actually for Northeast Wrestling. He actually was a surprise to everybody when he showed up. He actually was in. He surprised them in the match with Wrecking Ball Legursky. It was him and
he looked good, a little skinny, but you know he looked all right.
Yeah. I would say for him, I think he got too deep into it. He should have been in more. I would say maybe more main event type of matches.
Yeah.
I think he dove too deep into all aspects. I think he should have stayed away from hardcore wrestling. That's probably something he should have never got into. He should have stayed in more marquee matches where he's either tagging with RJ City or in a type of feud where it's just a one-off match, not when it's multiple times, because you kind of lose your... Him being a movie star, you kind of lose it to wrestling fans, because I was like, oh, we just see him all the time. He should be a guy where it's like, oh, I'm a former WCW champion. I know what it takes to be a world champion. So I'm only going after world champions. So I'm going to put people in front of me to be my guards to help me get to matches, to where matches where I'm getting my ass kicked the whole match. Guy comes in, helps me, throws me on him. See how I got the win? I worked my ass off to get the W. You know, something like that. I would just say when he dipped his foot into the water, I think he dipped it a little bit too far. And maybe he should just stick to marquee matches.
He did have a serious injury, though, didn't he?
With Nick Gage, I think he cut his neck, but I don't think he said it wasn't that bad as he originally thought it was. He was just scared as hell. So,
well, Dre, you talked about dipping your foot in the waters. Both you and John, I believe, both of you guys have some independent wrestling experience.
Yeah, and I'm gonna get to that when I bring up when.
I want to hear about this because, like, I'm super like,
okay.
Like, when I grew up out west, and out west, there's no real professional wrestling circuit, right? Like there is, but they're very, very minor, very independent. And how do you get into professional wrestling? And when Dre was talking about David Arquette dipping his feet into the water and he dipped it too deep, I want to hear from both of you. Like how do you get into professional wrestling, and like what's that process, and what do you go through? What do you go through?
So real quick, Francesca Sanchez, my wife, says, I genuinely love when people who made fun of me for watching wrestling now go to the shows with their guys. Sorry, you've been missing out for all those years, but welcome to the club now. What's going on, Deshaun? But yeah, I'm gonna hold my wrestling experience for a second because I actually have a small story when we get into the wrestling club about one of the wrestlers that are in the game that I had a personal experience with. So, Dre, take the stage.
Okay, so for me, it was a couple of years ago, and it was actually when I met up with Matt Taven. He knew who I was.
Matt Taven, no shit.
Yes, yeah, and this was when he was Ring of Honor World Champion.
Oh,
so yeah,
and
he knew who I was.
He's another one.
Yeah, yeah, and it's funny. I was supposed to meet up with him. Him and Vinny Marseglia.
The horror
like
king.
A month ago. We were supposed to do some things, but they moved to Florida, so it is what it is. So I met up with him. He knew who I was. So it was just like, oh, okay, well, I follow him. He follows me. Cool. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's all right. Cool. So after that, it's, little conversations here and there, talking to Vinny, because I also know him too. Talking to him, just not even so much of like getting in the ring and stuff like that, because, I'm about to be 35. I'm not DDP. So it's like, I know I can, just be a fan, enjoy the show. But then it was just like going to these independent shows and talking to these wrestlers and really like staying after the shows and like some of them give me their phone numbers and like I make gear for one of the wrestlers. Like I draw like designs for them so they can use. In the ring stuff, that's what frightened the hell out of me because it was just like, okay, I know they don't intentionally try to hurt you, but I know it doesn't feel good. So it's like,
people forget that about professional wrestling. Like the outcome might be predetermined. How you get there is not.
Yes, and it's like you learn pretty quickly if you're built for it, because they will do everything possible to make you quit. So, going into the ring, depends on who trained you, I guess. But for me, what I did was they make you like shuffle around the ring first, just to like get your stamina up and things like that. And, eventually, you do your calisthenics and stuff like that. But then, all right, time to bump. Cross your arms, back, cross, fold your arms out, shoulders, head tucked. Can't do it. Can't do it.
Not good at taking a bump?
Yeah, no. And it's just
it
like,
hurts.
It does.
It hurts.
And it's like,
the
it
first
also depends
one,
on the ring too.
Yeah.
Like, if it's a bad ring, then it's like, oh my God. Like, it's a jolting pain that I can't even, like, it almost, like, when they say it's like a car accident every night, that's what it feels like.
Yeah.
Like, you're jolted, and it's just like, whoa. Like, if you're tired, you wake right up after that.
It's
you
like
feel it through like your fingertips.
It's like getting smacked in the back with a thick wood paddle.
Oh yeah,
like that. You feel like a force,
and it feels like it, like how like you whip like a rug. It's like that feeling, like it feels like that on your spine because it's like, oh my goodness, and it's like you got to catch your breath. And then it's like, I took one chop. I was like, I'm good. I'm all set. I will never. God bless everybody who does, who goes in the ring, does professional wrestling. After one chop, I was like, I'm done. I'm good. And it was just like, okay, just stick your chest out, put your chin up. And it was just like, okay. And I was like, I'm going to count to 3. I'm like, don't do that. Just do it. Don't even count. Just do it. And it was just like, and it wasn't like the knife edge chop. It was the overhand one.
Oh, yeah. like the Keith Lee ones.
Yeah. No, like the one Big Show does with the one hand and slaps it down.
Yeah.
Oh my, no, never again. Never. I'm all set. after that, I was just like, I don't. There's nothing else you need to prove to me. I'm not going to be a pro wrestler. I'm not. It's not for me. I could not imagine going through a match where somebody does that to me more than once.
Yeah.
It's like,
Especially if you're a guy like Walter or Keith Lee, like
Walter does that to me, I gotta shoot him. Somebody got to go after that.
Listen. Walter,
it sounds too loud.
Walter disrespects people. He
disrespects
people.
Yes,
he really does.
Like, I couldn't.
So
not for me.
All right, so we have WWE games. We have an upcoming AEW game coming out by THQ.
No.
Oh no, not THQ. Jukes. I that's right, because Jukes used to be with THQ back in the day. I mixed that up. So with Jukes, if you don't remember who Jukes are, Jukes made some of the older WWE games, and I don't know what happened with that relationship, but they should have stayed. And now we have another option, the Wrestling Code. And while we're in the subject of in-ring experiences, I'm going to come up with a couple names right now that I took from oh my god, I can't even remember the name of the company now. The company that's making the Wrestling Code.
Jesus.
Virtual Basement.
Virtual Basement. Oh my god, that's 2 blanks in one episode. Jesus.
It happened.
I have it written down right here. So Virtual Basement, they make Ark Survival Evolved. I know there's a big community for that, but you're working with them to make the Wrestling Code. And there's a number of names that I saw that, and I had to do a double check with some of these wrestlers. Kurt Angle.
Yep.
Which I that's amazing. That
here's the funny thing.
He looks good.
About that.
He looks good.
Yeah, and it's like, with me being, one of their character artists, these are like things that I've known of for months.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, they tell me like, okay, well, so let me, before all this, let me explain like my role within the company itself.
Yes, I should have asked you that shit.
No, it's cool. It's cool. So it will give people more of an idea of like what I bring to the table with the company. Character artist. I also do stage design and logo design. If there's a wrestler who has tattoos, intricate attires, I'm going to be the one doing it, more than likely. Mainly because my turnaround time is quick and the work I do is detailed. Now, I say this to everybody, and this is not even a lie. I say this all the time. I do not use a computer to do any of the designs that I do. All my designs come off of my phone. I have a stylus, a Galaxy Note 9, with a stylus that I use to draw. I got multiple programs on here. I got Adobe Photoshop. I have a sketch app. I also have a background eraser, a mirror image. I also have a photo enhancement app. So it's like a lot of things that I utilize on my phone is what I can, use to make these characters. Muhammad Hassan, you've seen that. Enzo. I also did the character design for those.
I am very excited for him. Excited for him. As a New Jersey,
and that was something. Yeah. That was something I had to keep under wraps for so long because it was like I knew about it, and it was just like, oh my god, like y'all was able to get him. Like
I'm surprised he did. I'm surprised he didn't break the news or didn't spoil it beforehand because he's very excited.
Yes, and there are if we're able to get, because the game is still in development, and I mean that's not a secret.
Yeah. But
if we are able to get all the people that are on the wish list, now we got a great roster already, but if we're able, like I'm telling you, like there are people that are on the wish list that you have not seen in wrestling games in years. I mean, and the people that they're able to pull off is crazy. And they tell me, and they're like, we're trying to get this guy. And it's like, I don't know. And then they pull it off. And it's just like, Kurt Angle was such a big name.
Yeah.
Like, He's associated with WWE games, point blank, period. You know what I'm saying? You would have never thought you see Kurt Angle not in a WWE game, either as in a Legends or an active roster, and they were able to get him. I mean, I wish I could talk more about like
yeah.
But it's crazy.
We got a very interesting comment from Kobalus. Here's some inside info on the CAW community. Almost 97% created their shit on their phones. It's amazing what some of these young kids are able to create with the right apps.
Absolutely.
And that's kind of exactly what you were just talking about.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it's so much quicker. It's so much quicker. Just use your phone than like I remember back in the day, people used to use their computer. They used to hack stuff in. The only way you could do it is with your computer.
Right.
You know, so times have changed. And I think because I was using my phone back in 2016.
Woo.
Yeah, so it was just like
they weren't even that. We're talking almost 8 years ago now.
Yeah.
I don't mean to circle back too much, but going back to some of your artistic temperament, Dre, who are some of your favorite artists, like all time or just personal influences or whatever? Like whose art do you enjoy the most? I guess
I would say it has to be the one guy who influenced me the most. I would have to say Jim Lee.
Jim Lee.
Really?
I love Jim Lee.
Right? It would have to be him because it was a point in time in my life where I was exclusively drawing X-Men and people in the Marvel comics. So I used to have a notepad where it was just flip through, draw Nightcrawler, flip through Storm, flip through Rogue, flip through Morph, Beast. You know, I would just continuously like just draw people like Archangel, Apocalypse. And then what I would do is, even in the Jim Lee style, I would sit there and modify it and switch it up a little bit. So I would give, for an example, I remember this like it was yesterday. I used to be over my aunt's house on her floor, on her rug, drawing. And I would make Apocalypse, but I would make him more with the Egyptian style and like switch his character up. So I would like make my own little modified versions of like how the X-Men would look. Oh, those were good times. But yeah, Jim Lee.
Jim Lee made my favorite Batman storyline, Hush. You know, Jim Lee's amazing. So on some of these names, you said Kurt Angle, Hassan.
Mm-hmm.
Now this hasn't been confirmed, but there have been a possible Too Cold Scorpio tease that's been on the Twitter. I've seen Sandman on there. Who else we got here? Sex Ferguson, is his partner with him too? The other good brother,
Chad Too Bad.
Yes. He's going to be in the game as well?
So here was the here's one of the issues that the team was running into was Impact Wrestling was being real funny about their roster being in the game. So to circumvent that, it was okay. Well, y'all don't have this character that they portrayed under contract. You have this specific character. Cool. We'll use their alternate ego. So let's say, for instance, what can we say? It's like, oh, we can't sign Mankind. Cool. We'll get Cactus Jack. You know what I'm saying? And then, you know, if we can adjust, and people once get in the game can adjust accordingly. Yeah. And there you go.
ICP had a VHS cassette tape that they used to sell at their shows in the 90s called Stranglemania, and it was a lot of like just old footage of like hardcore death matches basically, and it was a Japanese death match tournament, and Mick Foley was in it, but they called him Cactus Sack. You know what I mean? So like it was basically ICP being the commentators for like a series of wrestling matches, and they were just ad-libbing and being funny and everything. So like, but it was hilarious to watch. But it was Cactus Sack.
We also have here Daphne, Luigi Primo.
Coolest guy.
Look,
I I have a Luigi Primo story.
Please, because
Listen, okay.
he is a. I watched a video this morning of him
Okay.
flipping pizza while rolling on a wrestling mat. Okay, if that's not talent and if that's not fucking cool for you, then I'm sorry.
Yo, it's not a gimmick. Like that's like what you see is exactly who that man is. When I went to go on this mocap trip, I went to go pick him up from Newark Airport. So
That's right. That's right
I'm
next
driving
to me.
pick him
Holy
up.
shit.
So I hit him up on the phone, called him, and I'm like, okay, which terminal are you at? He was like, I'm at this terminal in between this one and this one. Basically, I'm going in circles for 20 minutes trying to find which terminal he's at. So in Newark Airport, it's terrible. I would never suggest ever flying in there, flying out.
Yeah. No.
Not
Please.
great.
No.
Because it's a parking and then a flow zone where you just drive through, or you could come in and park. The vehicle I was driving in didn't have a good transmission, so it chooses when it can reverse or not. It is what it is. So I'm driving and I'm in the flow zone. So I see him and I'm like, okay, you the guy in the red shirt, jump in. Mind you, we're in the flow zone. I'm not pulling over to park because I don't know if I can get out if I do. So I open the door, jump in, throw your bags in and come on. So we jump in and we drive an hour and a half to Grimm's house. Oh my God. I mean, coolest guy. We talked about Japanese wrestling. We talked like he's a wrestling fan. Like he's deep in, super cool dude. And I mean, he actually makes pizza. Like that's the crazy. Like he lives the game.
Is it good? Is the pizza good?
We didn't try.
Shit.
We didn't try it. I mean, he was. We was in the gym for 12 hours. There was really no time for pizza. But yeah, super cool dude, man. Great conversation that we had. He's super cool. But yeah.
Hey, we got a comment from Kobalus. He said, "Cough, cough. We need a good carrying cross on 2K19. Cough, cough." Or
we need carry on. We need carry on cross. Yes.
Yeah. No, I got you. That's not difficult. I could bang that up. That's not difficult.
So Luigi, I watched that video today. This morning was the first time I've ever heard of Luigi Primo, and
he is going to be one of. He's probably going to be one of the most played characters in this game.
Yeah, I mean, I saw the footage of the motion capture with the flipping pizza. I think that's so cool. Before we get to the motion capture, we also have Amazing Red, who he's a benchmark. I was
supposed to meet him too. Mocap was actually supposed to be at House of Glory.
Really?
But, some things changed. Yeah.
Yeah. For those who don't know, he's the owner of House of Glory, right? Yeah. Wonderful.
Master P is.
Oh, that's right. He bought it. He just bought it recently, and a lot of great stars came from House of Glory. One of my favorites are Santana and Ortiz, who are in AEW right now. I think those are the... Okay, so now with the motion capture. So I've seen... Now, I do question. I've seen Crowbar and Grimm do motion capture. Are they in the game as well? I actually have something to say about Crowbar. I've partially worked with Crowbar before as part of it was an event called Rescue Mania. It was a wrestling event for first responders, military veterans, and the sort. Me and Jay being military veterans, I was actually a part of the first one and the third one. And Crowbar, he's one of the coolest guys. East WCW alumni. He's literally one of the nicest guys that I've ever been around.
Yo, he literally invited us over to his house. He made us hot dogs and hamburgers, ordered us pizzas and wings. Like, super cool guy.
You can't go
wrong.
We
was outside his house watching wrestling matches, going over. It was a bunch of wrestlers there, and me, like a guy. This was so surreal to me. Like, I'm over Crowbar's house. He made us dinner, and he's going over ring psychology. Like his family's super cool.
Drake, can you expound on that for some of the listeners that might not be as in depth with the professional wrestling knowledge? Can you talk about ring psychology for just a second? Like,
just going over like the pacing of a match, what happens, how to get a reaction out of the fans, how to tell a story within the ring, how to get fans behind a certain character, how to get fans to boo a certain character, just reaction control. I mean, it's like, lack of better words, mind fucking the crowd.
Right.
Like really, just controlling the narrative and having the people become invested within what's going on, even if they don't know who's in the ring.
And especially nowadays, kayfabe has been dropped. So you have to entice people to hand over their money to come watch a match.
Mm-hmm.
You have to get them invested now, because now kayfabe has been dropped. This is not a niche sport anymore. This is nationwide. And if I'm gonna go watch an independent match on a minor league circuit that's not WWE, AEW, or Ring of Honor, you have to earn my money. You have to earn my money. Otherwise, as a fan, fuck you, right? So it's like, basically, like, and wrestling fans very, very famously are very fickle. Wrestling fans are fickle. Like they will tell.
Very passionate. Very passionate.
They will tell the promotion in about 2 shakes of a jackrabbit's ass they don't like the character, or if they don't like the push. You know what I mean? If whatever the promotion is pushing, if the fans don't like it, you're gonna know in about 2 seconds. So and that's famous. Wrestling fans are famous for that. So sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. So so my last 2 names that I did see were Spike Dudley. A true legend in the ECW ring, and my personal favorite one, which I'm going to tell a quick story, is Sean Donovan. Sean Donovan.
I was supposed to actually meet up with him too.
Yeah, Sean Donovan. This is my experience in the ring. I took training for 1 month at WrestlePro. If you're familiar from the East Coast area, WrestlePro is probably one of the bigger promotions, and WrestlePro is actually in my town that I live in now. Like they do. So, I just got out the Army. I was like, I want to do something with my life. I didn't know what I wanted to do, so I said, you know what, let me give it a shot. It doesn't hurt to give it a shot, and I always go with the mentality where people, I'm not going to join the Army because I'll smack a drill sergeant if they yell at me in the face. And, I didn't want to go with that mentality. I didn't want to be a wrestler because I didn't want to get chopped. I wanted to give it a shot, so I did. Really cool guys. I was the Grayson brothers. I was training with them for the 1 month. Very helpful guys.
The tag team.
Yep, the tag team. They're great.
Now,
they're great.
Yeah.
TJ Crawford, who is having a really interesting uprise. I feel like it should be faster. He's a great wrestler, and to be honest with you, he showed me chain wrestling, TJ Crawford, and he was so fantastic about it.
John, you need to explain chain wrestling for the viewers that or listeners. I might not understand that term.
So chain wrestling, oh my God, we are over our time. We're so chain wrestling, you start off with the wrestling, you do this, and then you start you start the holds, the tight holds for the grips to make sure that you're in control of your opponent. TJ Crawford showed me that,
basically like one move into another move into another move into another move.
Picture like an amateur wrestling match. Like a lot of matches start off that way. And so I'm in the ring, and Sean Donovan tells me on my first day, do a tiger roll. And I'm like, all right. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I didn't ask nobody. I just did it. It was pretty sloppy, but it was okay. But to go back to what Dre said, that shit hurts because that first impact, because it's wood, then like a bunch of cushioning on top, and
not a bunch.
Yeah, well, no, you're right. It's usually like one fat layer of foam. Usually.
or a very thin layer of foam.
Yeah.
Because people have been landing on it too much.
Yeah, and you feel it. And, you know, I remember Sean Donovan said, he didn't ask me if I was okay or nothing. He was like, get up, you know? And that is, you know, you don't stop. You know, you don't peak, you don't stop, and you keep going. And Sean Donovan has this awesome mentality about and perspective about wrestling. He's very old school. He has a very old school look, a very old school style to him. Very in your face, you know, smash mouth, as he would put it, you know, type wrestler. So I'm so excited to see Sean Donovan in the game, because it's so well deserved. Yeah, like, are you? So you guys have Impact wrestlers? Are you guys? Oh, well, possible. No,
do
well,
not have Impact wrestlers.
yeah. So you have, well, how do I say this? Performers who probably at one time performed in these companies like Ring of Honor and all these, who once were part of it, will probably make an appearance.
Well, yeah. So, like I said, even with Anderson and Gallows, you know, it's great because they created these alternate personas that can be utilized and aren't signed to a company. So, you know, that's something that's really great. There was a good portion of the roster that was lost, you know, because reasons. Some of them we were able to bag, like, you know, RVD. I can say this would be the one, you know, the one thing that I will say about RVD. Like, okay, I'm gonna have to shout out Virtual Basement. Virtual Basement #1. These guys recognize talent. They wanted to grab up so many people from the community that 2K ignored for the longest time. Virtual Basement did their research first, and they sat there and scouted people. They followed me before I knew who they were. So they clearly did their homework first.
That says a lot. That says a lot in the company. That says a lot.
Yes.
Really, really.
Not only that, they, you know, for me, and I feel like I could say this. It's not a secret. Well, I mean, some people know, some people might not. But they even got me in contact with RVD's CBD company to do product design for them. So it's not only, you know, Virtual Basement looking out for, you know, the community and saying, okay, who can help us build the game? It's also, what can we do to help you?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that's also, and they don't have to do that. They could literally say, we need you to do this. That's it. This is what we need you for. But they recognize, yo, you got so much talent. Let me get you in contact with this person. Let me get you in contact with that person. And like, for, you know, Virtual Basement, this is how I'm able to get these interviews with these wrestlers, is because they get me in contact with them. I mean, from, you know, meeting Crowbar, meeting Tony Cheney, Zach
Cheney,
Ruby.
yeah.
Yeah, like, meeting all of these wrestlers were through Virtual Basement. And like I said, like, they even have me scouting some people. Like, when I went to an independent show, they said, hey, look out for this person. Let us know how this person is, how their match is. And it's just like, it's wild. I mean, I spoke to Enzo for 40 minutes. Guy is out of his mind. Coolest guy, but he is
Jersey native.
Like, listen, this guy is who he is off TV is the same way he is on TV. Like, there is
great.
like he is very cool, and I mean, it's just amazing. But yeah, just getting back into like the people that you announced that are in the game. I'm doing design work on a good portion of them. So it's like the attires that you see with them, have tattoos, more than likely will be my work. Like I said, my turnaround time is pretty quick. So it's just basically, you know, getting the models done, getting all, you know, the sculpting work done, and then passing it along. What attire should they have? What the look should they have? And okay, bang them out, send them on their way. For instance, RVD. I did RVD's attires. They haven't been shown yet, but I am telling you, the attires that I chose for him to have, you have not seen either in a very long time in video games, or it's something that you've never seen him wear at all.
I like that.
Like we went into the vault to find attires that are very colorful, that pop out, and that you would appreciate. So it's fun. It's definitely fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, shout out to Virtual Basement, man.
Cool.
They're great guys.
So I only have two more questions for you. The first one, does each performer do their own motion capture?
No. And the reason for that is some of them are either not here anymore, or they're just not going to do it.
Yeah.
Like one guy I was really hoping that would do his would be Amazing Red. And Amazing Red had a bad experience with 2K to where he's not going to do it.
That's right. He did do the motion capture for 2K. I remember that.
Yeah. So we have guys who will do that. That's why the team is basically going, from New Jersey to Georgia to Las Vegas, because they're getting a bunch of talent at these locations who can do these moves and emulate them. So it's not just doing their movements. It's also like, oh man, I don't know if I can. Okay, so I'll use this as an example.
Yeah.
You remember in the old Here Comes the Pain, Shut Your Mouth, when you can choose how the wrestler walks,
yes,
how the wrestler climbs up the ropes, how they run, same thing. It's going to be the intricacies of each wrestler that is going to be mocapped. Everything.
That's fucking badass. That is fucking
amazing.
Badass.
Yeah, so it's not going to be, oh, everybody got the same walking animation. No. It's going to, everybody is going to be their own character where you can tell the intricacies. When you do a knife edge chop with Tony, with not Tony Chini, well, yeah, with Tony Chini too, but with Luigi Primo, it is Luigi Primo's knife edge chop. When you do a stomp with Luigi Primo, it is his stomp. When you do a running elbow drop and you miss, that's him reacting to missing an elbow drop. So it's never going to be a situation where it's a bunch of canned animations and everybody has the same gut kick.
I'll tell you what, Dre, I love hearing that, because I'll tell you what, I wish they had motion capture 2 days ago when I got out of the Army, because I was walking like Conor McGregor, dude. I was like, I'm out, motherfuckers. I'm out. I'm gone.
That's to hear that. To hear that is amazing. It's really amazing, and it really brings the realism to the game. Because if anything, if we want anything in the wrestling game, especially with personalities, with real life personalities, we want them to be as real and authentic as they can be. Yeah. And I think that's so cool that you guys are.
We have the technology to do it. Why would that not be in video games? Why would that not be in video games?
And they promoted this a while ago, but I'll even say it here. The mocap that they're using is the same mocap that they use on The Mandalorian. So it's
awesome.
It's very high. Like, they got these sensors. Oh, I wish I had something to show it. Do I have anything to? Oh, let me use this. All right. So this is Xbox One. Xbox One. Yeah. Okay.
I got the exact same one.
Yeah. So these little sensors, that sensor right there is the same ones that they use over their body. Each one is $400.
Woo!
Each sensor itself. So it's expensive, and it's like, you put them on. They even got the ones for their hands. You know what I'm saying? So it's lit. They got the helmet with the camera for their face. Yeah. Like, so when they're cutting a promo, like it's getting their mouth movements and everything. So everything is so detailed, and the team is serious about it. That, like, one night, we were literally mocapping for 12 hours. We started and we did not finish until 3 o'clock in the morning. The team is not playing around. They are serious about it. And with the time that they have when we take these trips, they are boots on the ground working. They are not and not only that, they're talking to the wrestlers, getting input from them. They want something that makes sense to a wrestler to be in a wrestling game, as opposed to saying, a developer saying, oh, this would be great to be in a wrestling game if they've never been in the ring.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's they're taking this like very, very serious. And I mean, just to like be sitting there, and it's like you're like me. I'm just the artist. Like I'm a fan, and I'm literally around people. I don't think I can say his name, but people who just left WWE. I'm around people who are on the rise and the independence, and they're just all around each other, talking and giving experiences and teaching each other. And I'm just like sitting here, and I'm like, what am I doing here? Like, how did I
Awesome.
get here?
That's awesome to be like to be in that environment, be surrounded with so many people who are so passionate about the same thing. You know,
Mhm.
Now,
like when you hear guys like talk shop, you know, like it's fun just being in the conversation sometimes. You know what I mean?
Yes, just being a fly on the wall.
Right.
Honestly,
yeah.
like
Right.
So
I could just shut up and just listen to them. Like when we was at Crowbar's house, and just like I can't even talk about what they were talking about, but it's
yeah.
just like hilarious. Like it's just wild, man. It's
Yeah.
wild.
So I lied. I have another question to ask. With the motion capture, is so. I'm assuming we're going to see a lot of wrestlers that we haven't seen in a long time. Maybe some who are unfortunately deceased. If we are getting deceased wrestlers, how are you guys going about getting their voices?
That's a great question. Um, with
Oh man, I'm sorry.
um,
Careful,
without
careful.
saying too much, there are ways.
Yeah, yeah,
Without saying too much, um,
It's that
for
demon.
mocap purposes.
It's that demon science magic, kids. Y'all stay away from that. You hear? All right. It's that demon science magic.
That those deep
We don't do
fakes
that
are
around here.
serious. I'm telling you.
We don't do that around here. We don't do that around here. All right.
But moveset wise, it's finding a guy who fits their size and shape and having them do it, as opposed to let's say we got a guy who's a 300 pound you know plus powerhouse. You're not gonna have someone who's cruiserweight size doing the moves because it just doesn't. It won't look right. It will look
yeah.
like two guys who are lighter doing moves to each other. So it's getting a guy of the same height and stature to do the moves. But yeah, everything is if
Yeah.
there are like just like it was for Enzo, just like it was for Muhammad Hassan, um, it's getting it also all depends on if they'll showcase them in a video. That's also another thing if they're going to
Yeah.
showcase it. If they don't showcase it, then there really wouldn't be a need for it unless there's a couple of bridges crossed to where we can obtain some audio to use to showcase them.
Absolutely. And my last question, before we hit the final thought. So I read on Twitter, 1,000 call slots. You're the call you're the call man.
Mm-hmm.
So with call slots, does this mean that we're going to have a multiplayer in the wrestling code?
Like you mean online?
Yes.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
and the reason why I asked that because we all know the biggest problem with the WWE online games. There is a slight delay.
Mm-hmm.
And that delay, you have to get used. You really have to get used to hitting that RT button before someone swings at you, and you need to get the timing right. Are we good?
Mm-hmm.
Is there something that you guys are doing to make sure that that doesn't happen, or that we're getting like I don't want to like upscale it and say like okay like how UFC does it where the timing on it is like once you hit the button it's you're good to go. Are we gonna have like would you know if the experience is going to be well how different better question how different is the online experience going to be in this game compared to others?
I mean, okay, so the people behind that realize what the community is getting with WWE games.
Yeah.
They are very aware, and they keep their eye on everything.
Good.
They realize what the community wants, and they're going to do their absolute best to make sure that this product is going to work as best as possible online. Now, I can't say it's going to be like perfect out the gates, because you think about it, it's not a AAA developer. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, besides, Mean Greens and Arc, you know what I'm saying? They don't have a lot of games under their belt.
Yeah.
And this is also a passion project. And with passion projects, I would think most people going into, passion projects within themselves, they want to make sure that everything is, as best as it can be. Will it be perfect? Time will tell. But I can tell you this, that they are going to make sure that they can get out the best quality online experience as possible, and as soon as possible, once they, get, the sales are out. And once again, this is coming out first on PC.
Yeah.
So, is it going to be a large group of people who initially get it because it's on PC? Possibly. Once it opens up on console, then it's a completely different beast. But you can measure how the online experience is on the PC and adjust accordingly based on what you're going to probably get on console. So I would say, as long as they keep their eyes and ears to the community, they shouldn't have an issue.
Fantastic. And when you're gonna keep going. My bad.
Oh, no.
And when can we expect the release of this game?
Ooh.
Yeah, I know I know it's a long time.
Ballpark. Just ballpark it. You don't have to give any hard dates or anything. Just
okay. This is you asking me outside of what's going on.
Yes.
And my honest opinion, and this is not me knowing anything.
Yes.
Not me knowing anything, because I'm just a character artist.
Absolutely.
Just a character artist. Okay? I would say, this is, like I said, once again, let me preface this.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You're good. You're good.
But if I was to give an educated guess, or an uneducated guess, let's say that. Based on them doing a bunch of stuff now, like they're really getting the ball rolling on mocap, and then also the process of getting the bugs out, testing, things of that nature. I want to say the safest bet is late next year. Safest bet.
Really?
If you really want, because
everybody, you heard it here first. DD214 game is coming out fall.
Don't
fall
you
2000.
lie. But no, it's. The whole thing is like, this is a developer who's like, not a Ukes, and they're not a 2K. Like 2K literally got a whole engine from Ukes.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
And that's something I have.
That's right.
Let me relax. Like, they didn't inherit a fully finished engine like 2K. They are not a developer who are 30 plus years into developing wrestling games like Ukes.
Right.
So everybody everyone who is interested in this game has to understand that they are not sprinting to the finish line with this game. There is no interest, and I spoke with the detail in person. Do not I don't care what the community says. Do not rush.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they understand
right.
that. Like,
exactly right. That's the exact mentality they should have.
And it's
too many games come out these days where it's like you almost get used to playing games with bugs. And it's like games didn't used to have bugs. You know what I mean? It was really like, and how games having bugs became the norm. I will never understand in any industry. No other industry would fucking allow that.
Rush the product out. They want it out. And that's the thing they avoid.
And somehow in the video game industry it became like the standard. Yeah, there's gonna be a couple of bugs here and there. And it's like, no, fuck no, dude. Fuck no. It's my money. Like, I'm playing this. Like, I'm playing this trying to like have a good time. Like,
right.
You shouldn't
go to a car dealership and they tell you, oh, the car got a couple of bugs, but you can still buy it. Like,
right?
No,
like, no, I'm good. Yeah.
Hey, I'm at McDonald's right now. I want a double quarter pounder. And like, oh, hey, the bread's a little moldy, but here you go. Like fuck that.
and
You
and
know,
and just to go with, and just to like give you a bit more like detail within it, like they have had interest from larger developers saying, hey, let us, bring you in to finish this. And they know if they were to do that, it would now say, oh, well, now we need a release date.
Yeah.
Now we need you to change the game to this. Now we need you to change this. And that's what they don't want. They want to make sure that this game is what the community wants, not what publishers want.
Hell yeah. And
So
and that's what
they
it's about.
avoided that.
And that's
Yes.
what it's about, because as we all see, there is a large community in these wrestling games. There millions, probably most likely millions. There are a lot of people who play these games, and for many different
Yeah.
reasons. It's the WWE games are fun. I'm glad that now we're coming into a time where back in the late 90s, early 2000s, where we had the WCW and WWEF games, and now we have AEW, WWE,
Mhm.
and now the Wrestling Code. Dre,
Yeah.
I appreciate your hospitality. I appreciate you coming on the show, man. This
Mhm.
for me personally, as a fan, a follower, this was surreal. This was very cool. I'm glad we were able to nitpick a little bit and learn a little bit about your background. Where can we find you?
Everything is Dre41 Gaming. Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. It's all Dre41 Gaming. Everything's the same. Basically, you can find me there. I'll also be uploading more videos on the Wrestling Code. I just did a couple of interviews with the mocap guys, which is weird because I was there, but I had to interview them. I don't know, but you
you
know,
did it anyway. You did it anyway.
yeah.
Eh,
So it's just getting information out to the fans. I still follow everybody else's projects who are doing wrestling games. That's Gag Dog with the Ultra Violence. I'm following Mark Out Wrestling, which is and you know what? And I just want to say this real quick. Mark Out Wrestling will be one of the funnest games, like alternative wrestling games you will play. It is so creative, so fun. I'm just gonna put it out there.
I'm excited for that, man. And once again, thank you. I'm truly excited for the Wrestling Code. I mean, the roster itself is amazing.
Yeah.
The work that I've seen so far is amazing. Keep it up, man. I'm
Thank you.
I'm a fan for life. I'll be getting that game the day it comes out. It's gonna be a breath of fresh air, man. And before we hit the final thought, guys, I just want to say, you make sure to use code DD214 Gaming on your next Rogue Energy order. I got a box coming my way. It's supposed to be here probably tomorrow. So, guys, 10% off. Also, use DD214 Gaming for $5 off your next art commission by Kobalus Designs. Make sure you check that out. Also, check out Blaze Online. Veteran old company. We can't forget about them either. And is it your turn this week, Jay?
Well, I took it last week, but do you want to do it, or do you want me to do it 2 weeks in a row?
Well, no, I can do it, man. So every single Sunday we promote 22 a day. We always, we promote suicide prevention. Right now, it's one of the worst diseases out there. And I've said it before. It doesn't discriminate. It's not prejudice. It comes after you, and it eats you alive. We have to be there for each other. So always remember, guys, you could call or text 1-800-273-TALK. That number is 1-800-273-8255. There is always someone there to listen to your story. There's always someone there for your time, guys. If you guys have anything else to say, throw it in there. But we're done.
Well, I just want to wish everybody a great week ahead.
Oh.
I just started terminal leave today, dude. So I'm pretty happy. I'm pretty happy, and I'm glowing right now.
Yeah.
So here, Mr. Dre41. It was an honor and a privilege today, sir. It was a pleasure making your acquaintance virtually, but at the same time, it was a pleasure. I hope.
Listen, Once there's more updates, I would love to come back on and talk to you guys. So
And we
just
would
let me know.
Absolutely, you know, and I hope someday to maybe meet you in person. You're obviously a good dude, you know, and it's
Thank you.
He's in
it's good to see that.
he's in the West Coast, so you know the wrestling out there
I
isn't
got
all that
family out
good.
there, California,
Yo,
Las Vegas. So
where you at? Where you at on the West Coast?
oh, I was living in Victorville, Los Angeles, San Bernardino, and
Okay.
my brother just moved over to Las Vegas, so I'll be out there this summer.
Where are you at right now?
Connecticut.
Oh,
Newington.
okay. You're still okay. Got you.
East Coast. See you next week,
Hey,
everybody.
West Coast, best coast.